circulated to the Co-Star, the official newspapers of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on July 2nd, 2019, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building.
Thank you. Could everybody rise to salute the flag of our great nation? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody could just remain standing for a moment of silence for our troops and their families and all of our first responders. And also I'd like to mention two residents that passed away since our last meeting, John Hanley, who's a longtime resident, and Steve Gepp. And also Councilman McCracken's cousin, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Herman, was a Marine who was killed along with other Marines in an aviation accident off the coast of Japan on December 6, 2018. He was laid to rest today at Arlington National Cemetery, so if we could just have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. Just before we start our workshop, I just want to mention the town had a very busy weekend since Friday with the extreme heat and the storms that we had. And from our business administrator, our police chief, DPW director, all the way down, every employee that we had here, I really have to commend. They really came up, worked hard. They went above and beyond. Our beach staff dealing under the direction of Gene Corey did an excellent job. They came out, they worked in that heat all weekend. Our lifeguards with all the flies on the beach. The sand was 127 degrees on Sunday, and the boardwalk was 140. So they all did an excellent job, and I just want to commend them all before we start. Before we start the workshop, we have our freeholder, Sue Kiley, here, who is going to give us a little presentation on what she has. So, freeholder Kiley.
You ready?
Yes.
Well, Mayor and Council, thank you for having me here. Am I close enough? Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. All right, good. So this presentation came out of a discussion that I had with Councilman McCracken about, what are we doing in the county to satisfy human needs? What are we doing to help our citizens with the issues that are most critical to them? And we have a great story to tell about that. In 2016, we started an assessment of the human needs in the county to get an understanding of exactly where the biggest problems were. And we spent an extensive amount of time in that assessment just to get up to speed. We put a lot of money towards certain programs, and we wanted to make sure we were targeting the right ones. I'll give you a simple but easy example to understand. In 2016, we didn't have a vaping problem, right? But we do today. And if we had not done the assessment, we may not have identified and targeted that as a place that we wanted to focus. So long story short, we completed the assessment. We came up with 8 critical areas where our residents need the most help, and it's from cradle to grave. There are issues in the early childhood success and making sure that our children are started in the right direction, that their parents have the assistance they need. Second one is positive youth development, which is in the schools, and that's where education in the schools comes in. The third is aging. Fourth is homelessness, which is a bigger issue in Monmouth County than you might think. Transportation. A lot of people want to get to the health care they need, but they don't have rides or cars or support systems to get them there. Financial empowerment. We learned that a lot of the seniors don't quite know what they're entitled to, what their benefits are, how to do their tax returns. So that was another area of issue, mental health and addiction services. And then the last one was communication. I said the most question I get most often is, number one, where do I get help? When I need help, where do I get it? And number two, how can I help? So we're addressing the where you get help. This is the first time in, I think, any county in the state, in New Jersey, that we have decided to create a partnership, a collaborative partnership between the government entity and the private shareholders, so the organizations that you see on this chart that are actually delivering services. And the goal is to create a collaborative system where no matter where you enter the system, you're going to be able to get all the help and resources you need. So for example, you go to one place that you've always gone and you ask for help with X, whatever it may be. Maybe you have a family member who has addiction, but you also have other issues that you need to address. We coined a phrase, there's no wrong door. So when you go into that door for one service, that organization will be part of a collaborative with the county's system to be able to deliver and hand you all of the information you need or direct you in the right direction for all of the services that you might need. So no wrong door. The goal is to make sure that when you come into the system, no matter where you come in, you're going to find the help you need. Through this, it's called Monmouth ACTS, and ACTS stands for Assisting Communities Through Services. We've had a couple successes already just from doing this assessment. One is at Brookdale Community College. They're very proud of the community in the middle of their title, and they want to work very hard to help the community. We discovered in talking to them that there are students, faculty members that are having struggles financially, and students that are sleeping in their cars out in the parking lot because they don't have a place to stay and they want to make sure they get to school. We opened a social services office at Brookdale, and we're staffing that so that we can address the issues of those students, even faculty members that are struggling, so that we can point them in the right direction. So that was something that came out of the assessment we didn't even know was an issue. I'll give you another one. When we talked about mental health and addiction services, we discovered that the nursing curriculum in the schools, Monmouth College and Brookdale, does not contain a course on how to engage with an addict or someone that's an alcoholic, when they come into you. So these nursing students are learning the pharmacology, they're learning everything they need to know about the specific illnesses, but nobody's teaching them how to behave with a patient when they present to them. So we worked with the director at Brookdale, and we now have a new program that's going into their education to teach them that. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but because I could talk about this all night long because I'm very excited about it. It's a new program. There is a website called monmouthacts.org, I think. It might be .com. And it is an avenue for you to get to those services. The biggest issue is communication. People have no idea how much is out there that's available to them. And the hubs are meeting on a regular basis to talk about what the needs are in their specific areas and how to address them. Here's another one. We discovered through the assessment there are a lot of moms with new babies or new families that are very confused and frightened because they are not trained. Babies don't come with a handbook, right? And they're not quite sure what to do with their children. Once we discovered that, we were able to get some grant money to put in place parent advocates, so that now we have a program for somebody that needs some help and some guidance in raising their children. So lots of good stuff. Key to it is collaboration between the private world and the county. And this is the first time that that's being done, and we're really proud of it. So I wanted to let you know about it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Does any council members have questions?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I left up on the dais a sheet like this for all of you that has just the key points of the program, and then on the back, the organizations that are already signed in, locked in, and are part of the hubs working with us. And there's more to come. In fact, there's some that were disappointed that we printed these before they got their names on.
So if someone goes to one of these providers, they're basically in the system from there. That was one of my questions, is how do people get into it?
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Yeah, you can call the county, and you can say that you're looking for help, and the county's going to direct you in the right direction. If you call any one of these providers, they're in it, they're part of the hubs, they understand the program. And as I said, we're in the early stages, so we're going to get better and better. But right now, these organizations know about it, are engaged in it, and support it.
All right. Any other questions?
Anybody out there with questions?
Yes.
Here's my question. I have
having a problem, and I want to know what doors you go through. He's 23 years old, and he's not toilet trained yet. Do you have a door for him?
So here's what would happen. I would give you the phone number for social services at the county, and they would do a basic assessment of is it your grandson? Yeah, they would do a basic assessment of your grandson, try and understand his medical, physical, and emotional needs, and then point him in the right direction.
Well, none of the girls want to date him.
Mr. Dilberger, come on.
I'm sorry, I have to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
You think it's not a problem. They try being 23 and not being toilet trained.
I was going to bring this up in my report, but it relates directly to what the freeholder's talking about. And thank you very much for coming here tonight, because I think as a council, it's very important for us to focus on the human service needs of our residents who live in Belmar, as much as it is all the other stuff that a governing body and a council like this does. And I had the opportunity to go to an open house, a ribbon cutting, for the Preferred Behavioral Health Group up in Ocean on, I didn't write the date down, but it was very eye-opening for me. I was invited to go because I was told that they serve many residents from Belmar in their group. In fact, this group that is part of the list that's part of the ACTS program with the county provides services for over 30,000 people last year. They have 70 specialized programs. They provide services to people from birth up to 104 years old. They have over 400 certified professional staff members at 15 locations. Again, this new one was in Ocean. And they get a lot from donations as well. But they have 4 centers of excellence: the Adult Mental Health Services, Substance Use Services, Youth and Family Service, and Employee Assisted Services. And what was really special, I thought, about this open house, and I got extra information for everybody, and I handed them to everybody. I handed the information to everybody on the council this evening, is they had people there who were recovering from opioid addiction, who were very open to talk to all the strangers that were coming through in this open house about their journey and how difficult it's been. And it was really an opportunity to understand the complex difficulties that these folks have, and the fact that the county has a program that is coordinating all these services, sort of a one-door entry so that people can get the help they need, I think is very important. And I'm glad that you came here tonight to speak with us, to raise our awareness, so that if people in our community come to us and need help, we know where to direct them.
Just a point of interest, the CEO for that organization is one of the co-chairs of the steering committee for Monmouth Acts.
Mary Pat Angelini?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
I actually do. So I'll take it from the other side. How are you getting these partners into the program? Like, is there a set of qualifications? Like, if anybody should be watching and wants to get involved, what's the mechanism for becoming a partner?
There are a lot of groups that have already been formed with county and private partnership, really just to talk about the needs, et cetera. I would invite anyone that's interested in getting involved to call the county, to ask about the program, to get on the website and just voice their interest in being involved, and we'll welcome them.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Freeholder Kiley, for coming down and explaining the whole program to us. Very informative. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
All right. Before we get really involved in workshop, there's one thing that I want to bring up that the chief is going to discuss. We had a very unfortunate accident that happened on 8th Avenue. One of our seniors was hit by a car, and I want the chief to explain what we have been working on to work on that, crosswalk. So, Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, the 4th of July weekend, we had a senior citizen residing at the senior building that was struck crossing the crosswalk on 8th Avenue, walking to the plaza. It was a horrific accident. Fortunately, she survived, but her injuries are dramatic. The crosswalk is marked, not just by us, but as well as the state. Unfortunately, this was driver inattention on this incident. We've reevaluated the crosswalk. We've met with county officials, state and DOT officials, and as well as transit officials to see what kind of resolutions we can come up to make that area safer. In the meantime, Mike Campbell, DPW Director, has repainted the yellow markings. We extended to no parking, and we've added additional signs. We are working with the state on possibly either one, relocating that crosswalk to make it safer towards Main Street, and adding flashing crosswalk signs. There is some DOT and transit issues when it comes down to visible lighting because of the confusion with the train crossing. So there is a distance that we must stay away when it comes down to flashing lights. As of right now, myself, the administrator, Mike Campbell, met with DOT on site as early as yesterday with the state, including the state police, to come up with a safer resolution. It is a very the crosswalk is used extensively by the senior building. Right now, we've made it safe as possible. We've done multiple operations when it came down the crosswalk, stings, if you will, throughout the town, not just in Belmar and Lake Como. We've issued 32 crosswalk violations over the last 3 weeks. Could you hear me? The problem is that it's public awareness. We do have the sign on Ocean Avenue, which is the way the law reads is that you have to be in the crosswalk, yield to the crosswalk too. Trying to educate the public, putting the information board sign out there. The state actually. I'm hoping within the next 3 weeks we're going to do an on-site visit with the administrator to come up with a more solid resolution with our engineers who also was on site. That's where we are with that particular intersection.
Yeah.
Hoping by the next meeting we have more of a direction. It's a state road. We're limited on what we can do there. We're at our boundaries of what we can do without crossing the DOT threshold of what they would be upset with us. So. They're willing to work with us. Like I said, they came out yesterday, and we're very willing to possibly come up with a more solid resolution with possibly flashing lights or actually moving the crosswalk towards Main Street more, so we can actually install flashing lights where it's not going to interfere with the train crossing.
What was the time of day or anything like that an issue with the?
It was roughly about 3 o'clock. I believe it was about 3 o'clock, 3:15 in the afternoon.
So we didn't have a lighting issue or anything like that?
No, it was not a lighting issue.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the chief?
Chief, just a couple observations. Councilman Carvelli and I, a few days after that horrific incident occurred, had a tour of the housing authority with the executive director and the maintenance person there, which I'll talk about more in my report. But we watched the video, the very disturbing video of that person getting hit. That driver just never slowed down. I know you guys have done a thorough investigation and determined that it's driver error. But after we spent some time with the housing authority folks, we spent some time observing kind of the traffic and the pedestrian traffic there on 8th Avenue. And in the time that we were there, only one person used that crosswalk that goes from the senior center to 10th Avenue Burrito. But we didn't count them, but a lot of people crossed 8th Avenue at other points, either going from Piona Plaza over to the CrossFit gym or to Anchor Tavern and back and forth. And it was just a lot of people just cross the street. They don't use the crosswalks on Main or there. So it's appealing to me what you say about, and I'm not a traffic expert and I don't claim to know anything about solving these problems other than the fact that we have to take this with the utmost seriousness. It appeals to me when you just say maybe it does make sense to move it down so that more people could use it. I don't know. Another issue there, and my wife shared this with me, she was on her bike and she was coming back from doing some shopping, so she was on the south end, and she entered the crosswalks and attempted to enter a crosswalk when no one was coming east, and a car came and 5 cars passed before anybody let her go past there and proceed on the crosswalk. She got to the median, a car stopped, so she started to cross, and someone went around that car to the right. It's not 2 lanes of traffic there. And as she was going in front of the other car, about to reach the sidewalk, a car came and she said she was almost hit there. I realize there's complications with with it being a state road and what we can do, but it is a very serious safe concern that I know has been looked at for some time, and I have seen your officers out there doing what you referred to as sting operations. If they're effective in modifying behavior, I think we need to do more of that, because people just there's a lot of people crossing the road and a lot of people just not paying attention. Just a lot going on there with the train and the traffic lights and all sorts of activity. So that's just my 2 cents. I don't claim to.
And I agree with you 100%, Councilman. This is a town-wide issue, not just that location. Every crosswalk in town we have similar problems with. It's driver education as well as enforcement. On top of the radar enforcement and stop sign enforcement. That was also included in this operation.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for the chief?
On my way here tonight, fellow was walking across Ocean Avenue with his surfboard. I stopped, and the other person did not stop and whacked his surfboard and just kept going. Now, that person had to hear that surfboard hit the car, and they just kept right on going. Ocean Avenue is becoming a problem.
Right, we added multiple signs down there. It is a major issue. We're doing everything we can to enforce it. The administrator did find funding for additional signs. We could use more signs. For funding, they're expensive. They're $355 a piece, so they're not cheap. We have actually Mike Campbell had his crew repair a few to get them back out there. Other than enforcement, and when we can do it, and we are doing it, it's and as well as driver education.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dilberger, there'll be a public comment. There'll be a public comment. This is our workshop session now. There will be a public comment at the end, and you can adjust it. You could address it at the end. We're in our workshop session. The other thing we have on workshop that is on for first reading tonight, our CFO, Christine Manolio, has asked us to put this on. She did a workup of the dollar per hour on the parking meters, and the parking meters are not going to be able to pay for all the expenses. We're going to be short money down there. So she asked if we could raise it back up to $2. She has all the facts and figures for everybody to take a look at because of the expense of running those meters and the personnel that are down there handling those meters. She wants us to put it on the agenda for tonight for first reading, and then we're going to discuss it before the next meeting, and we'll see if we're going to either table it or see if there's something else we could do, or we're going to have to raise the price to $2. So I know it's just been put on for tonight, so it's something that we're going to have to talk about. I don't know if anybody, I know you haven't really had time to take a look at all the numbers that she put together, but she asked me today if we could put it on because it's going to be, we're not going to be able to cover all the expenses at $1 an hour, especially way after what the judge ruled and how we have to handle it. So we're going to have to take a look at that and sit and talk with her. So if anybody has any questions on that.
The only question I have is, if we raise it back to $2, as long as we make the proportional division that's supposed to happen, 60% of the money goes to the beach utility and 40% goes to the parking utility, then we're fine as far as, we're not in any kind of violation like we were before.
No, that's correct. Yeah, you have to.
Fine.
Yeah.
Then I think, I don't think the community wants us to lose money. You know, that means it comes out of their pocket, so I don't have a problem raising it.
Yeah, we had to put it back to $1 until we could figure out all the facts and figures and to see if it was going to sustain itself at $1, but it looks like it's not in doing all the calculations. So we'll have a couple weeks to talk about that and then discuss that at our next meeting. What else do we have on? I think everything else is pretty much straightforward on our agenda tonight. Anybody have anything they want to bring up? All right. I think that's it for a workshop, so we'll move on. Anybody in the audience have petitions that they want to bring up? Well, thank you. You could just hand them over to April, and then you have public comment at the end.
I think she's allowed to read it.
Go ahead.
Belmar resident. My name is Missy Mailing. I'm a resident of the senior building. We've come together to present you with a petition. I will read the petition to you first and then go over what you think.
Okay.
Dear Mayor and Council, over the past 8 years, traffic on 8th Avenue between Route 35 and Main Street has turned into a speed run. The drivers exceed the speed limit, drive recklessly, make U-turns, crosswalk in front of the senior building, and fail to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. Numerous emails were sent to the mayor and council, as well as reports sent to the police department, went unanswered. On July 1st, 2019, one of the seniors was hit while walking in the crosswalk. The force of impact threw her 22 feet. She is in critical condition. There has been no police enforcement of drivers failing to stop at the senior crosswalk until a one-day sting operation on July 4, 2019. We're proposing speed bumps. Speed bumps are an effective calming device. They reduce traffic frequency and severity of collisions, improve pedestrian safety, and passively reduce the number of vehicles exceeding the recommended speed limits. In areas of fairly high traffic volume, the installation of speed bumps can dramatically improve the safety of pedestrians and motorists alike. A speed bump usually slows traffic 2 to 10 miles an hour, giving both pedestrians and drivers time to safely react to one another. Speed bumps are inexpensive, they're easy to install and remove, they're made of recycled rubber and plastic. Most speed bump manufacturers offer a 40,000-pound capacity and a 15-year warranty against breakage. Safety stripe speed bumps range in size 6 feet to 23 feet, and the price from $98 to $200. Speed bump signs are about $20. The seniors request to install speed bumps at 8th Avenue in front of the senior building. This is a matter of utmost urgency. We are worried that the next accident will seriously harm and kill someone if no action is taken. While we await the installation of speed bumps, we request a police officer be stationed at the senior crosswalk during the summer months where traffic is heavy from 3 to 8 p.m. And then I have we, the undersigned, are respectfully asking for the installation of speed bumps at 8th Avenue crosswalk in both directions in front of the senior building of 8th Avenue crossing 710 East Avenue. I handed in the petition. We have 95% of the tenants signed the petition, which is a really good outcome. And keep in mind, those seniors will be voting in November. Keep that in mind. Okay, I just want to add a few points. I had sent an email July 1st or 2nd, I'm not sure which day, to the mayor, council, and the police department about the concern that the accident that just happened. And one council member responded. Thank you, Jim. Okay. Many tenants feel very strongly that more needs to be done for their protection. Traffic signs are not the solution. It's just like a red stop sign. People just go right through the stop sign. The same thing with the yield for pedestrians. They don't even see it. They just go right through it. Or we're standing on the easement or the curb. Many of us, the seniors at the building, are still very distraught and upset about this accident. We're also frustrated and angry, so you can see there's a lot of emotion involved too. I reached out to Jim Bean, and Jim came up with the idea for speed bumps, and we did the research and so forth on it. And we hope that you will consider installing the speed bumps. It's a better option than being slapped with a $1 million lawsuit if someone else gets hit. Okay, and we have some people in the audience, I think, that would like to make comments. And Jim Bean, would you like to make a comment?
Well, Mayor, what, was that
Yeah, I
okay?
think we're gonna wait for public comment. Yeah, it's
They want
just-
us to wait for public comment, so
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
satisfied with
Okay.
just you speaking.
Okay, okay. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you, and we'll take that
Okay, thank
petition,
you.
and we'll hand it over to the chief to take a look at. Okay, April approval of minutes?
Yes, can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of June 18th?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Councilwoman Wong? Councilman Brennan? Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, report to council, Councilman Carvelli?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and everyone for coming out tonight. I have three quick items. There hasn't been much going on committee-wise for me to report on, but obviously, the weather we've been having has been somewhat challenging. You know, between the heat over the past weekend and last night's storm, emergency services have been doing a great job keeping up on everything. DPW, the police department, GCPL, working to get everybody back with restored power. The other, let's see, Jim and I actually took a tour of the Housing Authority. I'm not going to steal too much of your thunder here, but we did tour the facility. We had an opportunity to meet with the full-time staff, the director, and the facilities manager. Besides getting into a unit and getting a feel for how things work over there and the challenges that they have, we did get a look at their their generator facility, their camera systems, things like that. And we did also talk extensively about the crosswalk safety. Obviously, we understand that it's a priority and a major concern, and we definitely want to see some sort of resolution to that. As Jim mentioned, we did stay around and watch the traffic between Railroad and Main, and witnessed a number of violations, both from pedestrians as well as drivers, including U-turns in the middle of 8th Avenue and whatnot. And there is a lot of activity between Main Street and the railroad tracks there, and definitely something needs to be done. Other than that, I just wanted to mention the fireworks and the Belmar 5, 2 fun events. I participated in both. The fireworks were great, and the turnout for the 5-mile run was, was well attended, although it was hot, but it looked like everybody was having fun. Other than that, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McCracken.
Yeah, the Housing Authority had its regularly scheduled monthly meeting on July 1st. It was not long after the accident that occurred there in the crosswalk. So it was a rather somber meeting, but the finances of the authority are strong. And after that, later on that evening, I attended the BBP ribbon cutting at their new headquarters. It was nice to see that they now have a prominent spot on Main Street to promote the businesses that we have here downtown.
Thank you, Councilman McCracken. Councilwoman Wan.
Good evening, everybody. Just wanted, if any of you are down around Fifth Avenue and on D Street might notice a cute little gazebo on the island now. Mike found this little gazebo and placed it there, and it really looks very pretty. Thank you, Mike. That was great. Our ADA meetings are postponed until September. That'll be the first of them. Could I speak about the library for a second? Or is it just about the lights? Because people are concerned about the lights. I know that there weren't any lights. I guess it could go back a long way. There weren't any lights in the back of the library, and we have even gone to meetings and coming out to use our telephones for light. That's all being taken care of now. We've come with the first of the many, I hope, who will come and give us a good price on putting up lights. So we have our first estimate. We have a few more to come, and hopefully by September, when the lights do start to go down, outside lighting, we will have something back there for you, and that'll be taken care of. Sorry, it's taken a while, but won't even go there. The memorial benches, our people, I've been calling people who've been on the list for a couple of years for the memorial benches. They're all excited, and we're going forward with them. The representative from the company that makes the benches is coming, and he's going to show us a design for the engraving on the back of the benches. So we're going forward with that. And Mike and I went down to Silver Lake, and we've added more spots for these benches. 2 of them will be 4, actually, 2 on each side, facing the ocean on Ocean Avenue. And then there'll be benches around the gazebo facing the lake, which is just lovely to sit and look at the sunset. You've got the lake. It's really, really pretty. So we'll have those spots available. Community policing program has been going really well. The difference between the last time we did it and this time, they're computers. And we have a website, and it's really working well. We've had our first zone chief meeting last week. We're having, the South Zone is having their block captain meeting tomorrow night. We've got a list of calls, so violations, houses that have been problems. So now we have something to work on. Police have been really great. Everybody's been enthusiastic. The block captains have been very enthusiastic. They've been going from house to house with letters that they composed. a couple of them we're going to use permanently. So we're up and running, and it's really working well. Next step, we go into the winter. Winter rentals can be a problem also. So now we have a whole new spectrum. So I'm very proud to say that community policing is up and running well. Let's see, are there more benches? I guess that's it for now. Oh, one more thing. The tennis courts are a mess, and that's been bothering me for a long time. Teresa Pringle and I have gone down to McCleary Park. We've looked at the park. I have to tell you, it is just so beautiful down there at sunset. You're overlooking the river. It is beautiful, and instead of paying $10 for a drink to go look at it, we have our own park, and you can bring your own coffee if you want to look at the sunsets. We want, of course, we lost a grant that we could have had. So we're starting from scratch, and Teresa and I are going to put together a committee of volunteers, and we're going to start looking for money. We're going to start looking for help to replace the tennis courts. So you'll be hearing from me, and we'll be looking for volunteers and people who want to partner and sponsor this. One more thing. Residents can check their third quarter tax bill online at www.belmar.com. Click on the button that says Tax, Water, and Sewer Accounts, and the bills will be mailed next week. So www.belmar.com, and click on the button that says Tax, Water, and Sewer Accounts, and you can read your third quarter bill online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council President Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I give my little report, I want to echo what the mayor said about DPW and our police department, our first responders, and our OEM staff, and everybody in Borough Hall, from the business administrator on down. They did a great job. They turned what could have been a much bigger problem into basically a 24-hour event. I think they did a great job. I like the way they coordinated with JCP&L. They let people. I like the fact that our social media really let people know what was happening. The effort of communication with the residents was really helpful. You know, I was lucky enough to have my power go back on last night, but when I got up this morning, I knew that there were people who still didn't have power, and to let them know that things were going to happen for them was a really good thing. It made me feel like I knew what I was doing, and it's all because of what DPW and the police and our first responders did last night. It was really an exceptional job. Two things. On April 9th, well, not this is April 9th, they just copied and pasted. It was the second Tuesday in July. The Harbor Commission had a meeting. They had a quorum, but they really didn't have an agenda, so it was basically like this freewheeling workshop that Chairman Bob Lynch put together, and they basically brainstormed a lot of really, really kind of outside the box ideas. My recommendation to them was do the research, come up with a real recommendation for mayor and council, and then come and present that and see what could go with that. The two main things that they really bounced around were, right now we offer seasonal rates and half-seasonal rates. And a couple of members were really very positive about the idea of doing a daily, we also have daily rates, but we're doing a weekly rate, a bi-weekly rate, some other kind of sliding thing to try to attract more of transients to come in and stay at our marina, not just one night or 2 nights, but for a week or 2 weeks. That's a great way to really bring in business. And the other suggestion, which was very pie in the sky, but it was a great idea, the director of marina operations. I said, well, that's, you're going to have to come up with an idea about how to pay for that, but it's a great idea. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes to. You'll definitely hear more about it because they were really hot on that idea too. And the second meeting I attended was that week. The Environmental Commission had a meeting. They don't usually meet in the summer, but one of the members, Diana Valou, on 2nd Avenue, she's a great resource for the Environmental Commission. She works for the Middlesex County Board of Education. She's a grant writer for that organization, for that agency. And she got in touch with a man named Steven Souza, who used to be an owner of Princeton, a part owner of Princeton Hydro. He's retired now, but he's still a clean water consultant. He runs this LLC, Clean Water Consulting. He's also on the board of the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, the ANJEC, which is a really great organization, very, very active in the state. He put us in touch with a woman named Christiana Pollock, who also works for Princeton Hydro and is also involved in state environmental organizations. And there are two goals with this. It was an excellent meeting because these two people are amazing resources. One is, I've talked about how they're redoing our environmental resource inventory. It's a document, the ERI is a document that was originally created in 2008. It needs to be updated primarily because of the changes that happened in 2012 after the storm. One of the things that Mr. Souza told us is that the new ERIs are actually being used much more as a focus for planning, in particular for water management, stormwater management, and any place that has water as an issue, particularly if you're looking at the possibility of flooding. So what we're going to do is get with their organizations and have them give us some feedback about how to include that in the ERI so we can, when we present it to mayor and council and to the planning and zoning boards, they'll have that information there to take into account whenever they make future decisions. They also, Christiana Pollock is also going to advise us about the possibility of going for a grant to finish the planting on the beach. I know a lot of people have heard that the Army Corps is looking at the possibility of putting dunes in. Even if that was to happen, it wouldn't happen for years. The pace that government goes, it's glacial. So, I mean, they haven't really even communicated with us, right? No, not a thing does. So, I don't think we can sit back and say, oh, well, they'll just build dunes. We don't have to worry about our stuff, our boardwalk, or our buildings. I think we still have to be proactive about this. And the question is just, we got to find the money. I'm going to be working with Diana and this woman, Christina Pollock, to put together the information we need to see if we can get it. It's about $100,000. If we can get it, then we could get the project done. And I'll definitely let you know how that makes out.
Great.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you. We had a lot go on since the last meeting. First, I want to bring up Steve Schuler, our prosecutor for 13 years, had retired a couple weeks ago, and we were in a search for a new prosecutor. We worked with Dennis Lavender, our judge, and coming up with some replacement prosecutors. So that's on the agenda for tonight. So I just wanted to wish Steve Schuler all the best in his retirement. The other thing that happened since our last meeting, Mr. Dasty, our business administrator, Mr. Kirschenbaum, our DPW director, Mike Campbell, and myself went down to Washington, D.C. We went to HUD, the originator of the grant for the Lake Como outfall pipe, and explained what the problem was and tried to get them to release the $600,000 that they owe us for all the engineering work that was done. It was a positive meeting. Mr. Dasty put a whole big package together for them and sent it down. They wanted more information, so we gave them all the information that we needed to give them. We are waiting for a response from them, but there are problems with the Lake Como outfall pipe. We're still in contact with DEP over that, and Mike Campbell, our DPD director, is working diligently to try to fix the valve that's broken right now down there and get a redesigned valve. So all that was going on. So we're hopeful and got our fingers crossed that they will release the $600,000 that we've already paid out to the engineers so we can get that money back. The lifeguards, the first lifeguard tournament, I'm happy to say that Belmar won the lifeguard tournament. And I had the opportunity to present the trophy to them. I was proud to present the trophy to them because they put a lot of work into winning that tournament, so that was nice to see. The Belmar Police Department took first place for the third year in a row of the Policeman's Shoot. It involves 8 towns. They're competing in a shooting tournament for one day, and Belmar took first place, and our own patrolman Kevin Jones took shot a perfect score and took first place in that. So it was nice to see that our Belmar Police Department did that. I also attended the Circle of Friends fundraiser. It was a golf outing, and I just want to mention Bob and Carol Capoli. The work that they do with those special needs kids is unbelievable. And if you ever get a chance to see one of their dances down at Taylor Pavilion and the work that they do and the time that they put in to make that all possible, you really got to commend them because they do a really nice job, and it was a great fundraiser for them. So I think other than that, I probably forgot a few things, but that's my report. So we're going to go into public session on any of the agenda items. Anybody have any questions on the agenda items? This is just for the agenda items only. Public session's at the end. No, that's at the end. Joan, you had a question?
LC, whatever, who is holding that? Can we have a name?
That one is.
That is the pocket license
Yeah.
that DJs have.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, close that public session.
To close the public section? Second. All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Well, the first one is, we have we're going to do that first resolution on, I'll just give a little brief summary on it. We're having a problem with all the credit card machines down the beach. There's some type of a problem. We don't think it's our problem. We think it's a software problem with the company we use. The credit card machines aren't working, so we're going to do an emergency resolution just to put ATM machines next to the ticket booths down there, so it stops all the confusion and all the backups. It was our beach director, Gene Corey, came up with a suggestion so that we could finish out the beach season, and if we went out for bid on something like this, the season would probably be over, but it's causing a big confusion because somewhere the connection between our credit card machines down at the beach and the company that we use is just, it's not working right. So we're figuring that if we put up the ATM machines right next to the booths, it'll be a big help for all our gate personnel and our badge, all the people that take the money for the badges and everything. So, Jerry. You did? Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, he's going to pay us.
I didn't know they were paying us, too.
Oh, yeah.
So we would need, as part of your resolution process, resolution will authorize this company to put, it's about a half dozen ATM machines. Seven of them. Seven to the beach, right? Through the end of the summer, and we could be paid $6,000. And there'd be no fee. We'll save money because of people, if the credit cards do work, we're not going to lose that discount, and if they don't work, at least we can get the cash in lieu of the credit card company that's not working. So I will prepare a resolution, if you'll vote on and authorize me tonight, to enter into a contract with the ATM company through the end of the summer for a fee to be paid to us of $6,000.
All right, we can do that without any as an emergency type of
Yeah,
situation?
it is an emergency, the summer's going, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's right.
All right, so I'll make that motion.
Well, actually, I have a question. What's the mechanism here? So we're authorizing you to write a resolution
Yes.
and approving it.
Yes, you're approving this company to put 7 ATM machines out, and through the end of the year for the.
Just
Yeah, I understand what we're trying to accomplish, and why do we need it so quickly? I'm just wondering, are we gonna see it right after you write it? So that,
Well, you can see it tomorrow. I prefer to see it tonight.
well, obviously, you can't
I'll
see
get
it
it to
today.
April tomorrow.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
We just need a motion? Okay, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Vaughn? Yes. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Very good. All right.
Now, Thomas.
I am going to recuse myself from this first consent agenda because it involves liquor license actions, and because I'm a professional musician who works at some of the licensed establishments in town, out of an abundance of caution, I want to avoid any appearance of conflict.
Okay, April?
Do we have a motion to approve consent agenda number 1?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Vaughn?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Okay. Next, do we have a motion to approve the resolutions listed under consent agenda number 2?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Vaughn?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
I actually have just one question about the electrical subcode official. Is this a new person? Are we replacing a person?
We're
no.
replacing.
We're replacing?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like we're hiring a new person and incurring any costs? Okay, yes.
Resignation.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we have ordinances. First one is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2019-24. This is an ordinance amending the beach badge fees. Does anyone from the public want to speak on this ordinance? Okay. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And then a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Councilman Juan? Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yeah, yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Okay, next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2019-25. This is an ordinance establishing rules and fees for affordable housing purposes. Do we have anyone from the public that wants to speak on this ordinance?
Yes.
Please come forward, state your name and address.
Just hand him the mic, John. Oh.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Um,
You want to just state your name, Mr. Kramer?
I'm sorry, Eugene Creamer, Fourth Avenue.
Thank you.
This is I guess my brief understanding of this is COA in Belmar. And this appears to be the format recommended by the Department of Community Affairs that the town adopt in order to establish a trust fund for affordable housing, to facilitate affordable housing in town. Am I correct on that?
You're correct on that.
Okay, good. My question really pertains to Section 4, the residential development fees. And that's on page 3 of your document, of the ordinance. Under A, imposed fees, I guess it's the little I here is the first category. It's within and it says, within residential districts, residential developers shall pay a fee of 1.5% of the equalized assessed value for residential development, provided no increased density is permitted. So I guess the way that is, my understanding, say a developer wants to build a single-family home in a single-family zone, and let's just say its assessed value would be $1 million after the construction, after the house is built. So that would be, it's 1.5% would be $15,000. And it's my understanding that on application for a construction permit, that the developer would pay $7,500.
Pay half with the building permit and half with the CO. That's
Correct, okay, and then another $7,500
when the house is done.
when the certificate of occupancy is issued. Okay, and that's somebody that's playing by the rules in town and abiding by our zoning requirements, okay? Now there's another category here, and it's double I. It says when an increase in residential density, also known as a D variance, has been permitted, developers may be required to pay a development fee of 3% of the assessed value. What kind of regulation says to a developer that you may pay? Shouldn't the word may be changed to shall?
Can be. That's for them to decide. The mayor and council would make that decision at the appropriate time, but you certainly can say shall, absolutely.
Isn't that the way that it should be?
I don't vote, they vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. In other words,
This ordinance was recommended by your, this ordinance was approved by your affordable housing planner in its presence of storm, but there's no reason you can't say shall. Absolutely. And we can make that change if that's what the mayor and council want to do.
yeah, I'd rather have it, in writing instead of somebody making such a decision based on some other reason. I guess what the other, now that we're talking about changing words here, this paragraph goes on to say, and now it says 3%. Is 3% the right number?
Yes?
Is it? The paragraph afterwards is an example. And it says that the percentage can go up to 6%. Right here.
Okay.
Maybe we should make it 6%.
Yeah, you got me at a disadvantage, but I'll look at it again. I don't think you can raise it up to 6%, but I'll check that again. Well, thank you. Well, it's 6% for 2 units.
No, 6% is the percentage.
For the 2 additional units.
That's just an example. Point being is that apparently the percentage of the assessed value that can be charged for a development fee can be 6%.
I don't think that's correct, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, you came unprepared to address this?
I don't have the ordinance.
I'll be truthful with you, I didn't see a copy of the ordinance outside here.
I don't think the ordinance is outside.
Oh, I see.
If the council would like, we can hold this off until the next
The
meeting.
reason it's 6 is because it says 3% for each additional unit. So if, in your example, you get 2 units that are allowed, 2 units that are not, that are additional, and each of the 2 additional units is 3%. So that's why it's 6.
It says 6 for the 2 units.
It's for the 2 units. It's not a difference in the fee rate, it's the math, because it's 3% for each additional unit. My question is why, if this is something that's been developed by an authority, why do they want to use, they definitely use the word may on purpose. You're absolutely right. I mean, shall is is one definite word, and may is the other definite word. Why do they want the approving body to have the flexibility to decide what they want to charge for each of those units. And I can't think of an example. That's the thing that gets me, is why would they want that flexibility there? There must be a reason, I hope. See what I'm saying?
Well, the developer that's complying with zoning, it says shall pay 1.5%.
Right, it's definitely.
It's very definite, right there.
Right. So why would a governing body want to be, I mean, the reason May is there is to provide flexibility. You may charge them free, but you don't have to. Why would they want that governing body to have that flexibility? And that's the question I think that's the question I think that needs to be answered. That's the only way we can make a real decision.
Yeah, I interpreted this as it was 1.5, and if you were going to go to the 3, that would be a that the town would have to pass. I mean, you can't have someone just arbitrarily.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure. I mean, most of the times these things are negotiated in a bill of redevelopment agreement, and it is based on how many affordable units are needed in that development. You want to table it tonight, and then we'll go through it?
I'd like the
and
answer to that question.
Yeah. All right, this way you get time to look at it. We'll table it tonight, Mr. Kramer, and then we'll take a good look at it before we adopt it. All right, thank you.
Right, so, motion to table?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, make that motion.
We have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then a motion to table the ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Next, we have second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2019-26, amending the flood damage prevention chapter. Would anyone like to speak on this ordinance? Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
And a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Councilwoman Juan? Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next, we have consent agenda number 3, which is first reading and introduction on ordinances 2019-27, 28, 29, and 30, which is the ordinance that you spoke of earlier for the parking meter fee.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to offer these 4 ordinances for first reading and introduction?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second? Okay, Councilman Juan? Yes. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Thank you, April. Okay, public session. Anybody want to come up and speak about anything about George?
The senior building, I work there on some paint rooms. I know a lot of seniors like you merged. Been there for a lot of first aid calls. That access was really bad. I'm not trying to grandstand, but whatever you guys are going to do, I'll put $300 into on the top, whatever you guys are going to do. Because the first gift I ever got to my daughter, which was born September 20th, 2004, was from the senior building. They collected $60 for my daughter.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, George. Yes, Aileen. Oh, I have 2. Lisa. Okay.
Ask about, I know that there's some new pilots in the works, and kids in the school. I wanted to find out whatever I could about them and to see what you might be doing in talking with developers in regards to sharing revenue with the school, which currently, you're under no obligation to do as per pilot programs. But as you know, I've asked that you do that, and I know you wanted to do that for Belmar Elementary School. So if you could just let us know what's going on.
Well, we were gonna have one on tonight, but it got tabled because it's not finished up yet. But I'd rather speak about it at the next meeting when it's here and go through and explain it. What we're doing, it's different than a pilot. Everybody's gonna get their fair share of money. And it's gonna be, it's not like in the pilot that we've had in the past. We negotiated it. It goes into a little detail. That's why I would like to have it here when Mr. Dasty can explain it, and then we can go through it, because it's not complete yet. And so things I'm telling you now might be changed by the time the next meeting comes. So, but I believe me, I have the school in mind, and I have everybody in mind about how these things are going to go forward, because we cannot keep taking money from the school, because everybody pays school tax, and we can't just keep playing the shell game, moving money around. So I definitely have that in mind. But it's better off that I speak about it when we have the document right in front of us and we have public comment on it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Does that mean that when you come back, because what I wanted to talk about were some ideas and to find out what your ideas were, not what happened between yourself and a particular developer and how we're going and in what way we're going to benefit in the details. I do want to hear that too, and I appreciate you waiting until you have those details, but I wanted to know specifically what I really want is for Belmar to write an ordinance that we share a certain percentage, that Belmar shares a certain percentage of the revenue from pilots with Belmar Elementary School. That would be ideal, because pilots are pilots and they're going to keep going, and this is the tip of the iceberg with development, which is fine. But ideas, and if each individual situation is unique, you can see how we don't feel like we have any control, and me not being a financial whiz, I just don't know how I can follow, like I can just look up on the tax records, for example, there's, any given condo unit in this town ranges in taxes from like $2,500 to $7,000 per unit. That's land and buildings, so that we know, and that's what they're going to pay every year, and you get your share, and the school gets their share, and everything else. So, and I like the idea that, you might have some good ideas, and I understand that each situation is unique, perhaps, but I don't know that it has to be, and I think that, as you know, in setting budgets for the future, like the school has to do, like we have no air conditioning, for example, for the kids. It's like when you put air conditioning in a building that's 110 years old, you have no idea how much that's going to cost you over the next 20 years because it's an old building. So when we don't know what each individual pilot project is going to yield us, you can see how it's, So
No, I get it.
What I wanted to do was get your thoughts about how you see this in the future and how you want to take care of it. I don't mean to do all the talking either.
No, I get it, and it's something that, I've been in contact with our superintendent, David Hallman, and that's why we're working these things out. And the one that's coming up is not even a pilot, but, I want to go through it in great detail when we have it, but
So it's not set in stone. Like when you talk about it next time, will there be a deal on paper? Is that like something I can Oprah and look at?
oh, yeah.
So it's a done deal.
No, not yet, not at this point.
But when you
Because there
when
was
you give it
changes
to
when we
us,
looked at
though,
it.
it
When we
will have
looked at
been
it,
a done
there
deal.
was changes. I mean, I really want to go over it when we have the document here and then go through everything. But the next one that's coming out is technically not a pilot. It's a step-in process, so it's totally different than what's been happening here. And I'm just not sure, because the document's not finished yet, of how much I could tell you right now. But so.
Yeah,
I mean, I just think there's successful counties, like Woodbridge. Woodbridge has a 25% share. You can Google it. They talk about, they have information about the pilot programs. I welcome everyone to kind of Google the pilot programs in Woodbridge and what the mayor has done there. He has shared 25% of the revenue with the Board of Education, and they've done extraordinary things, and I think we should be doing the same thing for Belmar. I welcome everyone to walk down to the school. We don't have air. I have 2 kids in Belmar. Building's falling apart. The gym is unplayable. There's so many things needs to get done, and this pilot really, should be part of, that share. And the school needs help. I mean, so we're coming to you, Mark, and council. We need help for the school. Education, and I know you know this, the future are these kids. Go down to the school. You should see the school and the condition. And so this is important. This first pilot is important. It's not what you were handed or whatever the story may be. Google what Woodbridge has done. It's extraordinary. It's multi-millions of dollars that have gone to their Woodbridge schools. And we should be doing the same thing. And we should be proud to do that as well. These are our kids.
And I just want to say real quick that the point is, of course, we're here because we care about the environment that our kids are in, but we also care about the taxpayers of Belmar, whose school taxes are just going to keep on going up because of the pilots. So that's really not fair to them. And I don't want to have a resentment from half the town because of the other half of the town not having to pay. Senior citizens, people who send their kids to St. Rose or Ranny or homeschool or anything else. I don't want them looking at us and getting annoyed with us. But if everybody, pays their fair share, will be, then it's less, obviously. And the other thing is, like, you know what it's like. You had to raise the municipal taxes by 21.7%. That is something that I didn't complain about because I knew, like you did, what was happening. Somebody else was using our town as a personal ATM machine. And, so we now have to deal with that. And I know you've mentioned that to people who have complained about that. And I want to stress to you and ask you to have the same attitude when you're talking to the developers. You say to them, look what I inherited. The jig is up. You might have been promised the world. You may have been given a huge municipal parking lot for $100,000, but the jig is up. You can't, I can't give you what you may have been promised before. That's what I want to ask that you do. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think what you're asking is, when it comes before the council, will there be an opportunity for you to have input into it? And is it being passed by ordinance? So the answer is yes.
Okay.
It'll be 2 readings, and then
there'll
the
be a
first
reading.
reading, it'll be out there, and then we'll be able to talk.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, Jim.
Hi, guys. Jim Bean, 612 16th Ave. I just want to speak on the petition. 3 points. Number 1, the speed bumps are, the temporary speed bumps, if they're just seasonal, are significantly cheaper than having police officers out there. Number 2, if the state or county does push back and say, get rid of those speed bumps, I think if the mayor and council stands up and say, hey, one of our constituents was already hurt, they're going to stay there until we get the study done with. I don't see a problem with that. And number 3, we know this is not a legal petition. It carries no bearing of law. This is a call to action petition that we would like the mayor and council to perform some action. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Mayor and Council, my name is Gene Murray, 710 8th Avenue. I'd like to thank all the first responders last night and Mike's crew and everybody. They've done really a great job. And most of all, I'd like to thank Jim Beam for coming to bat for us. He was over, we had a meeting and he was there. He stayed all the time and he explained to him to us. And I see what's going on out there. I sit out in front, and I see what's going on. And it's a tough job to really stop these guys. And it's a speedway, and, cop can't be there all the time, apparently. And I just hope these speed bumps, go down. And George, when he came up, he said he'd give $300. That's not coming from his pocket. That's coming from his heart, because that's the kind of guy he is. And one more thing, I would love to thank April. We had a bus ride to Yankee Stadium Sunday. It was murder, but she done a great job. She made it as comfortable as possible for us, and I want to thank you. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Dilberger.
No more jokes. I want to talk about this situation with the pedestrians and the drivers and everything. First of all, as a walker, I've been doing this all my life, ever since I've been a 4-year-old boy. Things have changed. We went through a phase. We're in another phase and everything. You hit on something, Mr. McCracken. This situation with the cars stopping and yielding to pedestrians, you too, Pat, and everything. That's not a good law. I knew it when it happened, because people don't understand and everything. For instance, as you said, people will come around because they don't see that you yielded for the pedestrian. And it's an obscure law. I had it happen to me once. I was a pedestrian. I was on the Manasquan Circle looking to go into the center circular grassy area, where a woman stopped in the circle for me. My God, in the circle. You can imagine how everybody felt behind her. They were not happy. And I didn't cross either, because I'm still here, because they would have run me down, of course. But what we have to understand here is, when we passed over this thing, it came with the computers. We didn't know, certainly I didn't know, and everything, until it was so obvious. People don't understand a lot of things anymore. For instance, they don't understand speed, and they don't understand distance. Now, I don't know what the circumstances were with the guy that hit the older lady on 8th Avenue there, but probably was finagling somewhat with a gadget. Who knows? But that probably was it. It's an age thing. Anybody older people do it, of course, as well, but there's far fewer of us through attrition, of course. And you got to take a thing of 45 years and less. There's a good chance the person's playing with a gadget. And it doesn't matter where it is. It could be on the Garden State, doing 75, 80, 90, whatever you're doing. He's looking down, playing with his gadget. And it has nothing to do with occupation. Policemen do it. Everybody does it. It has to do with age. There's another thing that with the computers, gadgets, whatever you want to call them. People don't have the spatial awareness they need to drive cars anymore. That's why the car companies are thinking of having it taken away from the driver and just the car drive itself. They didn't do it for me and my age group, but they're doing it for these younger people because they don't have spatial awareness. They don't understand distance to that wall and speed and how fast they're coming up on a thing. These are beyond the thing. Now we have ordinances, speed limits, don't turn here, don't turn there. That's a static thing on a piece of paper or a sign. But you're dealing with a fluid situation, something in motion, whether it be a pedestrian or the vehicle, whatever it is. You have to have syncopation there, but you don't have that anymore. All the rhythm is gone. Trust me, I'm a walker, and I know the things to look for. Now, I wouldn't ask anybody to walk along 35 anymore, sitting here, because you're the people who get killed. You don't know what to look for. You don't know the sounds of the road. You don't know what's going to be upon you. You're going to be taken by surprise. A walker should never be taken by surprise. If there's danger, he should see it a quarter mile ahead and take action before it becomes something very important. We don't have that anymore. You're talking about crossing the street and crossing at that gym and everything like that. Well, that's not a bad thing. It's a better thing than crossing at Main and 8th. It's very much better. I've been thinking about that. Maybe, but then again, we get into a situation of a traffic cop there. But then the drivers aren't good enough to do that. They'll hit them. I mean, obviously, they'll hit them. Sooner or later, they'll hit the policeman. Another thing, I'd like to, Chief, tell me about the sting. What's a sting?
It's where they have decoys walk across the street and see if the cars are going to stop, and if they don't stop, it's where we have decoy people walk across the street. If the cars don't stop, then they get stopped by the cops and they get summoned. If they don't stop for the pedestrians, so that's what they're doing.
I've been victim of stings. I was a victim of sting many years ago. It was a big thing down south. You know where they stung? All the Yankees they could. Everything. And as you were walking out of
the only way we can try to control some of this, Mr. Dilberger.
They said to you, y'all come back and see us sometime. Here, boy?
Well, there's only one way that we can stop some of this stuff. It's
you're
enforcement.
Not.
It's enforcement.
No, you're not doing that because you're running to catch up. You're already behind. It's already set. The people are going to do whatever it is they're going to do. And yes, you put your tape out and everything after the accident. Do the best you can. If you see the guy making a U-turn on Main Street, yeah, you grab him. Or going the wrong way in the street, yes, you get him. But stings, trust me, nothing good ever come of something like that. I know this. Trust me, that's a bad idea. Hopefully you'll give it up.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dilberger. The chief's going to be working on it, and we get your point. We get your point.
No, you don't get my experience.
Well, obviously not. I don't have the experience of walking like you have.
And I'm still walking and everything. I know what I'm talking about.
I know. You have the experience of walking. Believe me, I see you all over.
I know what to look for.
But it's a situation that we're trying to control at 8th and the crosswalk.
It's not. All you can do is hope for the best anymore. You're already too late. Enforce your laws. Don't set up these elaborate stings or anything. Just enforce what you got. Do the best you can. And that's it. We're already behind, and it's over. It's
Thank you,
already
Mr. Dilberger.
over.
All right, thank you. Yes, Gene.
Gene Corey, Beach Director in Belmar. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and council for their action tonight to approve, or at least start the process for the ATM machines. It'll avoid a lot of the confusion that we have down there, and I think it'll make it for a much more efficient operation. I do want to clarify one thing. I have not met with any individual from this company, Jerry. When I gave that figure to Jerry, Ed Kirschenbaum, our business administrator, I believe it was Bradley. Was it Bradley? Bradley Beach, yeah. That figure came from them as to that's what they get for putting out so many machines. So I just wanted to clear so there's no misunderstanding there. Second thing, I'd like to thank Mayor Walsifer, Councilman McCracken, Councilman Carvelli for the wonderful gesture that they came up with during the last Saturday and Sunday. They all mentioned the temperature of the heat. Well, they were out there handing out water to all the people that worked on the beachfront. They're a great bunch of people.
They are.
And I really appreciate working with them every day. And I know it was a kind gesture, and it was a hot gesture, but thank you very much. They appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gene. Let me just get Sandra over here first because she had her hand up for a while.
Sorry, Marcia, I'm still short. That's good, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Sandy Caputo, Surf Avenue. Frisbees, soccer balls, footballs, and large men running after them, looking up and not watching where they're going. In the surf, right where children are playing, in the sand, right where people are sitting, it's all over the place. It's a free-for-all now. I've never seen it so bad. Worse than any other year. It gets worse every year. No lifeguard or officer ever stops anyone from throwing or kicking any ball on our beach. Not ever, not any situation, never ever. Everyone is permitted to throw and kick these balls around. There's an ordinance about this. It's also in our beach rules posted on our website. And curiously, there's a Facebook video where we invite people to come and throw the football on our beach. It's casually mentioned, but it's there. Now, Mayor, you spoke to me about this before the last meeting, and I know what you said to me, but I don't understand the concept for something like this of we're working on it. Because really...
No, I said we're trying to get everybody to work together on it.
Okay.
The lifeguards and the beach police.
Well, it's not working because I really don't understand that because it would take about 60 seconds at a lifeguard meeting, and I know they have them, to tell them this is not allowed anymore. And I'm sure that the special officers have meetings too. And
We have our chief here and our business administrator, and they will speak with the lifeguards. The chief will speak with the special officers down there.
These activities could go on during non-beach badge hours. And having them play ball near the boardwalk is not a solution either. I don't think people walking on the boardwalk should have a football flying at them. Same for kites. Fly them during non-beach badge hours. That's what we always used to do. We would take kites, we'd take them on the beach after 5 o'clock. These things weren't allowed years ago, and I don't know what the benefit is for our community to keep this going. You could put up signs, ball playing after beach badge hours. We have terrific lifeguards. The water is safe, and the sand is not. And by the way, the recent comment on the blog about footballs wasn't me. I'm not the only one. People often speak to me after meetings. So thank you for listening. I don't understand if anybody's working on this, how it keeps getting worse.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll speak with them again.
Sandy, I can just say that when we were on the beach handing out water on that very hot day on Saturday, it was something that the mayor and I had, several conversations about in the couple hours that we spent there, and that people share your concern.
You must have seen it. I mean, you observed this that day. I know what day that was.
I
don't know how you could miss
The only thing
it.
that we saw was the volleyball up at the
the
boardwalk.
volleyball.
They have volleyball nets up at the boardwalk.
You didn't see all the footballs flying by the water. I don't know how you could not see them, but they were there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yes. Either one of you. I'll get to everybody.
Thomas Asfar, 304 10th Avenue. I just want to add some comments to the comments that Sandy gave you about the football playing. I've been on this Belmar Beach for 43 years, and back then, it wasn't allowed. It was very highly regulated by the lifeguards, just the way the boogie boards and the inflatables are now on the beaches that don't allow it. And this situation is very near and dear to me because I own in town, and my wife and I take our kids to the beach almost every day in the summer. And we exclusively use the 8th Avenue and the 13th Avenue beaches because those are beaches that allow the inflatables and the boogie boards. In fact, I think I see Councilman Rennan there on 13th practically every time I'm there. So what that means on these beaches at 8th and 13th is that there's a very high concentration of children. There's moms, pregnant mothers, there's mothers holding toddlers with small children next to them, and to sit there at the water's edge, which is where I sit, 5 or 10 feet from the water, and see these footballs come flying from 40 yards away and smashing the ground a foot or two from where these people are standing is frightening. It's an unsafe situation. I mean, you have problems in the town like this problem on 8th Avenue. You have a senior building across the street to a shopping center across a major thoroughfare. That's a major problem. You've got a problem with the crosswalks on Ocean Avenue with people flying through them when there's people trying to get by. That's a major problem. You inherited horrible problems from the previous administration. All of these problems will require consultants, attorney conferences, budget meetings to figure out how to pay for them. This problem with these balls on the beach, on the water and at the water's edge, can be solved in a minute. There's no consultants involved, there's no experts, there's no attorneys needed, there's no budget meetings, there's no money for it. So what I'm not going to stand here and do is ask you to fix the problem, because I did it with the previous administration and I'm doing it now. What I want to ask is, why won't you fix it? And I would like an answer from each council person and from you as to why you won't fix it. Because it's obvious to me that you won't.
Well, at the beginning of the season, I had to talk, but I didn't know it was continuing going on until I saw you on the boardwalk on Saturday. Our business administrator is going to talk to the lifeguards. He's going to talk to the lifeguard staff to step up a little bit of a procedure to stop this. So, and our chief of police is here. He's going to talk to the beach police down there to step up enforcement on this. So, I mean, unless you want me to go down there and try to do it myself, that's what we have these people in place for, and he's going to have to, our business administrator is going to have a talk with the lifeguards to enforce this.
Okay,
Now-
I appreciate the offer, but it's not something you can fix.
Yeah.
And it's not something the police can fix, not the officers or the specials. Sandy asked you if you saw those football playing from the boardwalk, and the fact is that you can't see it.
No.
You cannot see those footballs in the water or at the water's edge from the boardwalk. So specials and police cannot be involved in this. You could make the argument that you could call the police from your beach chair, but by the time they get there, there's another football. They only take 10 or 15 minutes and then they move on or they're changed. So yeah, it's a very horrible, dangerous situation. And I would like to know what each of you thinks about it, or what are your feelings about it?
When you witness this activity on the beach, what do you do about it? Do you report it to the lifeguard?
I move my kids to a safe area.
Okay.
I can't tell the people to stop.
No, I
because-
didn't know. I didn't know if you got the attention of a special one or two and they didn't take action, or if you pointed it out to the lifeguard and they didn't take action. I was just trying to get a sense to see if you reported it to somebody and there was no inaction, and there was inaction after you reported it.
I haven't reported it this year yet, but
Okay.
last year, when reporting it to the lifeguards, half the time I was ignored. They would just laugh at me. What they would say is, it's at our discretion if we think if it's an issue or not. And
Well,
the fact
I mean,
is,
if that's the case, I think there is something we can do about it by educating the staff as to what the rules are on the beach.
but see, here we go again. I don't think there's any of this necessary. It's just tell them to stop it. It always was like that, and it's not like it now. So you want to have these discussions in meetings, I don't really see why it's necessary. Just instruct the
because
lifeguards to
you-
make it stop.
But I think they need instruction because of the answer you gave me when you said that they told you it was at their discretion. So it appears to me that they need better direction on what they're supposed to do, if that's the answer you got.
Part of the problem is it cannot be at their discretion. The lifeguards are young. They don't have kids. They
Yeah.
don't see the danger.
If I could,
Sure.
I will. I will talk to the chief lifeguard, the chief's here. He will instruct his staff. I will send an email out to all department heads, because realistically, it should be the lifeguards, it should be the police, it should be DPW. It should be anybody that's a stakeholder in the town. If they see something going on, we have to make sure that, and you're right, the staff lifeguards sometimes are young, sometimes we have senior lifeguards there. If in fact we have a problem, we all have to address it as a team collectively. There'll be no mistake of the problem that we have. It'll go out by email, that way it'll be documented, because I can document it that way, then I can take action if it's not followed. Because progressive discipline it starts that way. As long as something's in writing, somebody has to follow what's in writing.
Okay.
So what I can tell you is that as the administrator, I will talk to the chief after the meeting, I will call the head lifeguard after this meeting, and I will put in writing. I will ask all department heads to make sure they're vigilant on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kirschenbaum, could you also provide to the council the ordinance that Ms. Caputo referred to and the beach rules as well?
I
So we
will.
have that for our reference.
Do each of you agree with this situation?
With you. And could I ask Jean, going to the badge collectors, if they see, because again, you can't really see down, but if they see somebody playing ball, do they have a way of reporting it? I mean, we're going to need reports from.
They would never see it. They
You
would
don't
never
know.
see it. Well, the beach badge checkers are not down at the water's edge.
And the lifeguards too are down there and they're watching the water.
I mean, they
which
have
is
a big
that's
enough
their
problem
job.
trying not to get 17-year-olds on the beach for free, and rather, you know.
Well,
I-
yes,
it-
but it's a collective. It's a collective thing. Everybody has to be involved. Everybody has to buy into this. It's a culture change, and it's just not going to happen anymore. Simple as that.
You're right about
And
the
it's
culture
right.
change. You're right about the
That-
culture
that's
change.
what it is.
There's a culture now that exists that anything's allowed.
Right. New sheriff in town.
I would also like your Facebook video to either be amended, edited, or taken down, where you encourage people to come to the beach and perform this activity.
Well,
that video's still up there.
That was a mistake.
That's misinterpreted. And we talked about that when we were on the to the person that was taking the video. And, you know, it has been brought, I think, to everybody's attention this year. And you just heard me ask for the ordinance and the resolution so we can review it, and we want to make sure that, that the rules are being enforced.
Okay, I mean, maybe if you're going to encourage it, you should remove the ordinance, so then it's completely allowed. I don't know.
I don't think
Are you
it
going
should
to
be
leave the
allowed.
video up there like that?
I'll take a look at it and we'll see what we can take care of.
Okay,
We don't want to encourage improper behavior down there, we'll take a look.
super. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes. Oh,
Mayor and council, just so you're aware, this ordinance was enforced strictly. I don't have the ordinance in front of me. I don't know if April will look it up. It was changed several years ago to allow ball playing on the beach at the officer, as well as the lifeguard discretion, at the time.
Did you hear that?
We'll take need to see it. Yeah, we're gonna see it. Maybe something has to be changed.
My name is John Cap.
What I would suggest to continue on this, the previous speaker's message was, why don't you have a sign on the boardwalk saying, no bikes, no dogs? Why don't you have a sign saying no footballs? All right, so then there's no excuse if you have a sign saying no footballs. A few weeks ago, I'm walking to the beach, to the boardwalk to read the paper, and I see 3 teenage girls, 13, 14, walking towards me, and one of them has a cup of ice, you know, a multicolor ice thing in there. And I stopped them and I said, how much did that ice cost you? She said, $3. And I said, well, you wouldn't mind spending $3.15 for it. The point I'm getting at is we still don't have any assistance for the high taxes. why don't, and you have the authority to give away money or the tax money and so forth, why don't we, along the Ocean Avenue, only on Ocean Avenue, put on a 5% sales tax? Because 95% of the people on weekends are from out of the town. Why don't, and they're taking advantage of everything, all right, of all the facilities, the beach and so forth. Why don't we have them pay a little of our taxes? That's simple enough. You should be able to pass an ordinance to put a 5% sales tax on an extra sales tax on just on all the businesses on Ocean Ave. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, Linda.
Hello. Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. I've been attending a lot of the zoning board meetings, and people in their application need to make sure they have parking spaces. And what I've noticed recently is that swimming pools are going in that are taking away from the spaces that have been allocated for the buildings. They park in front of their garage, or their garage becomes a cabana. I'd like to suggest that the people who are approving these pools or giving the variances to put in pools to maintain the required parking for our buildings, since we do have a shortage. And, you know, there's a house that's just been done that has 5, 6 bedrooms and only 2 parking spaces. Part is a cabana, and then they have the little swimming pool. Like, I don't understand why we're allowing people to overbuild on the lots. And I'm here asking that we re-examine our ordinances to make sure we avoid giving away backyards, parking spaces for things people, if they need a swimming pool, they should go out to suburbia where there's plenty of land and not take away from our parking that was so important for them to get to build the house. So I'd really appreciate that we address that issue.
Okay.
Thank
We'll take
you.
a look at it. Thank you. Yes.
Hello. Angela Pfeiffer, 319 Fifth Avenue. A couple of comments. I'll keep it brief. One on this pilot thing that was mentioned kind of surprised me because we've had several conversations, and I was under the impression that we were kind of done with pilot programs. But now there's a possibility of another one. And I know you won't share the details. Can you share the location?
It is behind 7-Eleven on 7-Eleven number 35, that property behind there.
Okay.
They were looking to build 11 condos there, and it's not going to be a pilot.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I mean, anybody that's involved in real estate knows that Belmar right now is sizzling hot. We keep making all of these concessions to the builders and the developers. You know, let's take single-family homes and do multi-dwellings. Let's do this. Let's do pervious, impervious. Why are we giving away anything? We have something that they want. Why are we giving this away? Okay? And I agree. And I don't have any kids in the school, but I agree. The school has been short-shifted.
Yes, it has.
You know, and when I brought this up a couple of years ago, and what I was told was, oh, well, the people moving into the condo don't have any kids, so they're not going to school. Well, guess what? I don't have any kids in the school. Are you going to give me a tax deduction? No.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it
think
was a horrible argument to make.
I just think we want to think about maybe not giving any pilots at all. We have something the developers want. We really do. We're in the driver's seat. So,
Believe me, we're negotiating because they were promised a big pilot, and they're not
okay, but
getting
they
it.
were.
They
but
are not getting it. So
you know
that's
what?
all I could tell you. The document will be out, and then we'll go through and explain how what we're
Promise. You know, unfortunately, you know things. You know, Pat said there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new sheriff in town. So
one thing that I'm going to make sure of, the school gets their fair share, because to me the pilots are a shell game. We all pay school taxes. So if you're starving the school from, that, they have to raise their taxes.
Well, it's
So-
worse than a shell game because, as the other person said, it's the taxpayers that bear more of the burden, you know, whether we have kids in the school or not. And I have no problem contributing to the school, but everybody should pay their fair share.
Absolutely.
Okay. Second, the approved vendor list for Taylor.
Yes.
I was surprised that there were only 3. Did we limit it to just Belmar?
No, we opened it up for everybody, but we, I hand-delivered 15 myself, so I don't know why they didn't apply. We're going to open it up again, probably in January.
So that was my question. So maybe people just didn't know, maybe we can advertise it a little bit better or whatever, because I would think,
You know, the first time you do something like this, usually there are people who are reticent because they just don't want to be the first one to try it.
Sure.
Once they see that the vendors that signed up are doing well,
Okay.
then they'll all want to do it. That's the best thing we can have happen, and I'm really happy that the 2 that we added are from Belmar. I
no,
really
that's
like
great.
that.
That's great, but
And I think what they're going to see is that it's going to be something desirable that they want to be involved in, and then we're going to have
so
trouble
down the
fitting
road,
them all
other
in.
people can apply?
Yes, oh, yeah. Well, January will probably open.
And those people that are on the list, do they have an opportunity to just block out dates without having a client?
No.
They have to have a client.
No. And they have to be
Just
fully
wanna make
paid
sure.
before any dates are taken.
Just wanted to make sure.
No.
And last thing, can somebody give me the details on outdoor dining? I love outdoor dining, but a lot of restaurants in town, and we all know which one I'm talking about now, is building something I could not walk by because there's a light post and they built this thing. Is this allowed?
Well, it's by ordinance that they have to have at least 4 feet of clearance, and the construction officials went down there. Their plan was sent back a million times, and they checked it all out, and they have the clearance that's required by the ordinance.
They have 4 feet to there's a lamp post there.
Yes. Believe me, they went down there and measured it because we looked at it the same way, and we took a look and said, there's not 4 feet there, there is. So we had our construction official go down there, remeasure it after they put it in, and they are within the ordinance.
So we're stuck?
I went by it, I looked at it, and I said, that does not look like it's compliance. We got the officials down there, they came back, and everything was, I agree with you.
I was going one way, there was a couple coming the other, we kind of had to go like this to just.
They're gonna have to, I know what you're talking about, because I went.
It's the corner, and what it is the sidewalk slopes down to where the cutout is, and you got a double garbage can.
And you have a lamp post, so
So
shouldn't
if
it
they
be
move,
four
if they
feet
move
to
the
all?
double, you gotta move the
It
double
is.
can, you gotta move the garbage can.
We might have to revisit the ordinance on some of these.
And the other thing that you have to be careful, I've noticed some of the other people in town, and it looks pretty, they then add like flower pots, because it makes it look really pretty, but then it goes like another 6 inches or 8 inches. And I bike around town a lot, and, you know, you're walking, or I'm with my grandkids in the stroller, and we're constantly maneuvering around. But that 4 feet, is that something that, I mean, we can't take it back now, but,
Size of the columns that are making it look so, intrusive.
The
But if
ordinance
it's
was
measured.
there- The ordinance was there. I'm telling you, we all looked at it, council. I drive past every day, and I'm like, and we're talking about the cutoff, and that's well away from that area because of the slope. We don't want it to have the 4 feet and then the slope. It's actually, I think it's 10 feet or 8 feet than the slope. We don't want any hazard, but that's what the ordinance says. We're gonna have to revisit it because when you look at it, it doesn't look like it complies, but it complies.
so if we change the ordinance, obviously, we have to live with what we have, but maybe
Right, they're
moving
grandfathered.
forward
Mm-hmm.
might be something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Yes.
Good evening. Pat Paleo, 207 18th Avenue. And I'm here for Snyder, the direction of Snyder Avenue. I was here in April, and I appealed to you to change the sign back, and now it's just becoming a hazard. So My son, I believe, invited you over to our house last weekend. I don't know if you got the email, to please enjoy our, patio and watch the accidents nearing to happen. Memorial Day weekend, we had 2 cars that were totaled on Snyder and 18th. It's just so hazardous, it's unbelievable. Snyder has now become the entrance, one of a main street coming into Belmar. Snyder, the trucks are coming down Snyder, speeding down Snyder. We have children on the first part of Snyder near North who they can't play ball in the street anymore. Not that you should, but everyone is fearful now because they're coming down North, making the left on Snyder, thinking that's the only way in. And it's just dangerous. It's ridiculous and it's dangerous. And I know that everyone's talking about the last administration, but I guess they did it. So the last administration changed it. Somebody was unhappy. Something about 2 streets needed to go. 1 street needed to go north. 1 street needed to go south. But then we still have 2 going south now. I am appealing to the board and to the chief. The sign needs to be changed. It's an accident. Well, we've already had an accident. We didn't have anybody get hurt. Well, we did. The ambulance came for one of the gentlemen. But the other day, I was out on my garden, and a bicyclist was coming down 18th. He had the right of the way. He was doing everything right, and a car went right through Snyder. They go right through the stop sign because you can't see the cars coming down 18th because the cars are so high, you can't see them. And the cyclist went up on the lawn across the street from me. So it was another near miss. Every single day, it's a near miss on that corner. And not even, I can talk about the quality of life, how I have to go, on my car, I looked at how different it is, because I have to go all the way down to go to my house, which is the corner house on Snyder and 18th. I have to go all the way around. I go a half a mile to get to my house when I can just get off of 18th, and sometimes I do. I did today. It's just we really need to do something about the street. I don't understand why it was changed, and it needs to be changed back.
Okay, we'll talk to the chief and we'll take it under advisement and take a look at it.
Well, that's what we said last time. That was
what we
April. And you said, once it becomes a safety issue, that you would look into it. Even some of the police officers are like, I don't know.
This road was changed.
In October.
October last year.
Yes.
I did a survey of the number of accidents from 2017. There has been 4 accidents located in that area, in the 2-block area. I looked at all 4 accidents from 2017 to present. Neither of the accidents had any relation to the direction of the roadway. There's only been 4 since 2017 present. When I say only, I know it's a lot of accidents, but the direction of the travel was not a factor in
2017.
2017 to present, there's been 4 accidents in that location, in that 2-block area.
And how many have been since October?
2017, January 1st to present, there's been 4 accidents on Snyder Avenue. Neither of the accidents, of the 4 accidents, had nothing to do with the direction of travel.
Well, when you get to the corner, you can't look left because there's cars. You can't see the cars coming down 18th. My tree was cut the other day, and I understand that when a tree goes into the street, you have that right to cut it. I know that. And the gentleman who cut it was very gracious and very nice, but he did cut it because he said somebody complained that they couldn't see the stop sign. I don't understand.
2 of those accidents
We
were in
do have a petition, and the petition is growing. Like, we just thought it was Snyder. Everyone on Snyder is really upset. but the petition is getting larger. We have some people on 17th who are complaining, because when you go down Snyder, you make a left on 17th, and now you're just going you're just circling. You're just circling. And the other day, what was it, the race was 2 weeks ago, people were just circling. We just sat and we laughed. We're like, okay, watch that car come around again. It's just created a hazard there. And I understand, if you want to make one street go north, one street go south, that's fine. But do it logically. You can't just start with B, because I know the person who lived on B is the one who wanted to start this. It needs to be logical. But to leave on 17th is just ridiculous.
Ms. Paleo, when they're circulating, are they like circulating because they're cruising around like kids cruising, or is it because they're
you
looking?
get stuck. Because once you
Okay.
come down 18th, because Google hasn't been changed, neither has Waze. So they're telling you to make a right onto Snyder.
We have big
I
trucks
can't even
coming in.
tell you the cars that go down the street on the weekend, down the one-way street. And I hate to use the word a joke, because we're out there and we're just like, oh my goodness. And somebody mentioned a sting before, and sorry to make that reference, but I read this article that 2 moms decided, because they had this issue, is to throw a beach ball into the middle of the street to see if the cars would stop. And my neighbor and I were contemplating it, because they are just speeding down Snyder, they're speeding down 18th, and I know that's another story.
I live there.
I know you do.
Kind of a block away from you.
Yes.
And I understand completely, and I have an idea. I have talked to, I love the way Chief's looking at me now. I have an idea. Would you like to hear it or discuss it later? Just a little idea that might help.
I'd like to hear it, if I can.
Oh, sorry, Drew. The children that we're talking about, the families, are close to North Boulevard, and there is a whole slew of them. And so I parked myself on North Boulevard to watch this. They come very quickly around the corner from North Boulevard onto Snyder. And if the kids, a ball goes out in the street, they don't have a chance. I mean, they really whip around that corner because they're coming from, let's just say, the ocean, and they're in a hurry, so they take it fast. Is it possible to take that one street from North Boulevard to 19th and make that a one-way? This way, it might avoid, I know, it might avoid the traffic coming to 18th, and
This has been
I know that's
addressed-
crazy, but
This has been addressed in the prior administration, where we reversed 19th Avenue and reversed 20th Avenue. I could tell you that the people on 20th, once it was approved, it came back and got reversed back to the way it was. That's it. Without doing it, and Snyder Avenue is one issue in that area. You have Snyder Avenue, you have Surf Avenue, you have 19th Avenue, you have 20th Avenue.
yeah.
I can tell you the data that we have on Snyder Avenue, the accidents, of the 4 accidents, there's not significant, there's not that enough, there's no statistics there to say that it was due to the direction of the travel of the roadway. I cannot tell you that changing the direction of the travel of the roadway is going to change the number of accidents. The data is just not, plainly, just not there.
But what you've done was that it's now a main street to come into Belmar. When you come down North Boulevard, it's the first street that that goes north. And so now we have huge trucks going down that street, speeding down that street. We've never had trucks going down that street before.
The roadway was changed on a petition.
And like I said, we have a petition. So a petition has been started. One of my neighbors called, because I know that 18th Avenue is a county highway. Somebody did call the county for 2 reasons, not because of Snyder, but that's one of the factors, is because the speeding on Snyder is just ridiculous.
So the direction was changed on a petition, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
On Snyder Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
So
was
does
told-
having it changed on petition prevent us from changing it for a certain number of years back?
Well, not.
You'll have another petition.
Not with
trying-
19th and 20th, it was
Not a
changed
legal
within 2 months.
That wasn't done on a petition, though.
You have to listen to the expertise of the police department.
Yeah.
As to what's.
We try to address
No, I-
this issue in a whole, on 19th Avenue, 20th Avenue, Snyder Avenue, 8th, A Street, B Street. My recommendation in the past was do a traffic study in the whole area. No good deed goes unpunished.
That's true.
We had a somewhat of a solution. The residents on 20th Avenue were not happy. It got reversed back. Without it I don't have the data to support that. It would have to be a traffic study, not just on Snyder Avenue, but the entire area on the flow of traffic. I do agree, the Waze and the different apps that are out there aren't up to speed. So we have people traveling in the neighborhood. We try to do an internal study, the residents down there, and shutting down 19th Avenue to see how the traffic flow would be at nighttime. It seemed to work. That's why we actually presented an ordinance for 19th Avenue reversal. It got approved, got changed several months later back to the way it was. Without doing a traffic study in that whole area, I do not have the equipment, the manpower, or the engineers to do that. There would certainly be a cost to the town and the borough. I do not recommend changing any roadways without doing a traffic study in that area. There's no data to support that the direction of Snyder Avenue, either north or south, is going to make it safer on the data that I have with the 4 accidents from 2017.
Chief, I'm concerned about the comment that Ms. Polio made about the trucks. If you're a truck over a certain weight, can you go down a residential street if you're not making a residential delivery? Are there rules about that?
Yes, you can.
You can, okay.
There is no weight limit restrictions on any roadway in that area.
So I just need to understand something. So you said a traffic study would cost a lot of money, and you're not even thinking about changing it back to the way it was? Because it was changed without any study. It was just, it was changed nilly-willy because one neighbor decided that she didn't like something. I don't know what it was. But, so it was changed.
Oh, we had 90 people on that.
No,
It was 90?
that's 18th and 19th. That was last year.
No, for Snyder.
That was the Snyder. That was
I
the
think there was
Snyder.
90 on that petition.
No, there wasn't 90, there was 48. I have the
yeah,
petition with me.
48.
There were 48. Of the 48, there were 4 people from Snyder. So the more people that we talk to, our petition is becoming larger because more people are being affected by the traffic pattern. So it is a huge traffic pattern. Everybody's coming down Snyder, and they're just, they're going down to what's it, A or Surf, whichever goes south. So
For Snyder Avenue, I do not have the data support north or south, unfortunately.
Right.
One
But-
way,
But you didn't have the data in October either.
nor did I make
Right, I know that you didn't do it.
nor did I make a recommendation,
Right.
because I didn't have the,
Right.
there's no
So
data
we
to
can't just
support.
change it back. I've been in Belmar I haven't owned in Belmar for 44 years. I've been coming to Belmar for 44 years, and we've owned for 10. But that street has always been like going one way, the other way. So anyway, we're appealing to you to please change it back. The next meeting, hopefully we'll have, this meeting and tomorrow night's meeting was a little confusing for some people because a lot of people who were concerned about this are block captains, so they thought the meeting was tomorrow night. But I can present a petition if it'll help. But if you're saying to me, don't worry about it, it's not going to help, we're going to keep it the way it is, then I won't do anything.
I cannot recommend, from a public safety standpoint, I do not have data to support that it would be safer either going north or south. I don't have the data to support that.
Okay,
Please bring the petition.
okay, all right,
Are you going to the community policing meeting tomorrow night?
yes. Yes, I will. And the other thing is, I came in late, I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought the meeting was at 7. But have you ever considered residential parking? I know somebody made a comment about parking and, the pools and the driveways and everything. But I know Manasquan's done it a couple of years now, and it's been really successful there, which each household gets X amount of parking spaces, and then they can pay for more for each, house owners. Because I mean, there's a lot of rentals where we are. They're getting less and less, which is really nice. But it's really terrible to see diapers on the streets in front of your house and bottles, and we wear our gloves in the morning, and my husband's out there cleaning up every single, Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning out there. But it's just something to consider, residential parking. I don't think it's a bad idea, and you could get some money from it, too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi again, Aileen Fay, 400 River Ave. I just want to say a few quick things. What are you saying to me? I was interested in the whole COA conversation, and I thought something sounded familiar, and I texted a friend who sent me something. She was looking for affordable housing in Belmar, which is not affordable to her as far as I'm concerned. She makes the national average. But she does gig work, so she pays for her own health insurance. So here we are. She can't afford affordable housing. She makes like $53,000 a year or something like that. She can't afford affordable housing rentals. But she got a message from, trying to think where this came from. But anyway, she said, she was told that in 2015, the New Jersey Supreme Court transferred all COA matters to the designated Mount Laurel judges in each county. So COA no longer has any jurisdiction over these matters. So municipalities are going through the process in the court system, and there's no state oversight. So that's what is happening here with that ordinance that made no sense? Oh, it is? Okay. I just thought, obviously, if it says may, you can do what you want, I thought. But anyway, that's one thought. I just wanted to mention that. But I have a few things. Although I actually... can't believe I'm going to say this, but totally agree with Mr. Dilberger in regards to how pedestrians need to, behave themselves. I agree. We always lived on a busy street, and it's saved my kids because they know how to, walk around town. But I wanted to ask about the Route 35, the sidewalk side at the marina I call it the Marina District. People call it Rhode Island Point. All those houses right there. So who would pay for a guardrail if we were to put a guardrail up there? Because that sidewalk is so, is right on the street. And even when you are paying attention and you're hearing, like I yell at my kids all the time, you're going to ride your bike with your headphones on? What are you, nuts? It can be the cyclist's fault or, but I've been on that road, and it's pretty crazy. And I know every couple of years there's a story, and there was one just a few months ago where the car jumped the curb, went across 4 lawns before hitting a house, And I don't know what the speed limit is, but it's about 40 is what people do. 35 is the limit, 40 is what they do. So I know there's a guardrail on the other side of the street to protect the cars from falling in the water, but if we could have a guardrail on the side to protect the people, that is the affordable neighborhood in town, and young families are moving in there. And then, of course, right across the street, you have a playground, and you have the tennis courts that you want to work on. So where can we get that money? Can we get that from the state or the county?
Well, yeah, we would have to get state approval even to start that project, because
it's a state highway, yeah.
So, I mean, the only thing we could do is ask. We're trying to do something with that crosswalk over there because it crosses 5 lanes of traffic, the one over there in McCleary Park. So that's
Right.
even, no, the one that's further down in the middle.
With no light? That one?
Yeah.
When I lived over there, I didn't use it.
I know, but
L Street, yeah, which makes sense. That's fine, I think,
I don't
but
know how
yeah.
they can make 5 lanes of cars stop over there, but that's, that's
Right.
crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd
we
be
can ask.
willing to work on that, to ask, try and get that.
Yeah.
And then I would love to see an additional surfers beach in Belmar. We have just the one surfers beach. And I noticed that by the fishing club, there's never any swimming or guards, which is the perfect place, I think, for a surfers beach. Don't put guards there. Don't add any money or anything. Keep the no swimming there, and then put another flag up that says surfers beach. Surfers don't need lifeguards 99.99999% of the time.
Where does the surfing camp? Aren't they down there?
They do surf there.
Well, they have the surf camp there.
But nobody else could surf?
No, they're not allowed to surf there.
Only surf
My
camp.
husband gets in trouble all the time for surfing there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the kids, yeah. So,
Right on the south side of the fishing pier?
yeah, the south side of the fishing pier. So like everybody's either on 18th Avenue, or, you know, like my husband goes to Spring Lake to surf.
13th Surfing Beach?
No.
19th? No.
Yep.
On the north
18th
side
is
of
the
pier, I
only
know
place
people
in
surfing all the time,
town
but I
you
don't-
can
I don't know if
surf.
that's illegal.
What's that? I'm
I
sorry?
see people surfing north of the pier all the time.
You
but I don't
do?
know that that's,
Oh, okay, maybe it's,
but I don't know that that's a designated area, I just see
No,
people
you should
there.
stay away from there because of the birds. Definitely should stay away from
oh,
there.
definitely, I love, yeah, well, I think,
God, that's the last thing we need.
right.
Elaine, you have to ask the surfers where the best waves are.
Yeah, right.
They'll tell you what beach.
Well, yeah, I know, they go
You
where
know what
they
they're
are.
like, yeah.
Sometimes my husband drives to Rockaway Beach if he has to. But,
Yeah.
but it would be nice if see, he doesn't even surf in Belmar because it's too crowded. So that's why I would like to see the
Yeah.
A
additional.
lot of the locals don't. That's what's happening.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I know.
It's a shame. All right, one more thing. And I'll get out of here. Two more things, real quick. So the dunes. Is there a reason why we can't, and I really don't know if this is cheap or not, but I assume it's very inexpensive to do what Bradley Beach did. And I would spearhead the effort with people helping do the plantings. I'm sure there are other people that would donate the plantings. And then the DPW is already getting paid to remove Christmas trees, so why not throw them on the beach? No?
You want me to take, you want me?
Sorry, Tom.
Okay,
That's
all right, what Bradley Beach did was the classic sand dune environment. There's primary dunes, which are closer to the water, and there's secondary dunes, which are obviously behind the primary dunes.
Excuse me, I don't want to interrupt. This is important, and I want to find this out too from you. Bradley Beach is bigger than ours. They have more. They have a lot of room from their boardwalk to the first dune, and then they have more beach. I mean, they have a lot more than we have.
Right,
So
they don't have a full secondary dune system. They have a small one.
okay.
And what they did with their Christmas trees is where they developed the primary dunes. They tend to be at least 15, 20 feet high, and they're held in, the trees are a base to hold the sand, but what really holds them in place is the dune grass that's placed on top. And that's really all they have there is dune grass on their dunes. In Bradley Beach, one of the things they have that makes that work is they don't have a boardwalk, they have that paver thing that's up on a bulkhead. So even though those dunes are high, when you're walking on that bulkhead, you can see the ocean. If we were to put in primary dunes like that in Belmar, you definitely would not see the ocean unless you walked out past those dunes. You wouldn't see them from Ocean Avenue, you wouldn't see them from the boardwalk. They'd be too high. What I'm trying to do is have us, I mean, look, the Army Corps of Engineers might just take it right out of our hands, but who knows if and when that would ever happen. As a hardcore environmentalist, I can't argue with the idea that you need a set of primary dunes and then you need the secondary dunes behind it, which they're usually a variety of beach plants, the kind of things that we've already planted a couple of places as test projects. But knowing Belmar and understanding what the businesses and the beachgoers are looking for, I just don't think that primary dunes that block the view of the water is the way we need to go. I mean, if the federal government comes in and tell us, well, we have to do it, then we have to do it. And I won't really cry, but if it's up to us, I think what we need to do is do the best thing we can while we preserve that view of the water, which makes the beach so appealing to our residents and visitors and businesses. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
don't
you see
agree
it?
at all.
I know.
No, we again, like I said before, the jig is up. Tough darts, we can't see the ocean. We're living in a new era. You know that,
I know.
Tom, right? I mean,
I
you
know.
know. So,
If I could.
Yeah.
You know, there is a beach management plan. Director Campbell he's extensively involved in that.
Oh, yeah?
The first step for making any dunes, anything like that, and that would be a permanent dune, is to have it approved in your beach management plan, and the state is not allowing us to put dunes. Even your temporary dunes that we put there in the winter this year are not going to be allowed.
Well, that's good, because they didn't make any sense. But why not? Why did they allow Bradley?
Put in their CAFRA permit and their beach management plan, and they, I guess, approved it there. I was not a part of that. I can tell you in Belmar, they are not allowing it. They're not allowing the dunes, permanent or temporary, unless there's an emergent situation, an upcoming storm, then you have to call them and get permission. So again, between the CAFRA and the beach management plan that was just signed this year, and I believe it's good for 7 years, they're not allowing it. So you have to get past that hurdle even to get, whether the mayor and
That's
council,
good to
the
know.
people on the beach, or whatever study you're going to do, the Army Corps of Engineers, all that would come secondary, because right now, they're telling you flat out, you cannot do it. So I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but it's
No,
not,
that's
it's not going to
interesting, yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up again with Bradley. A councilman in Bradley is also the regional manager for the Surf Riders Foundation, and he's a major environmentalist all his life. And I asked him about those dunes. I figured maybe they were just, a cheapy version, and who knows, if a surge like what we had, they didn't have the devastation we did, but it might not be because of their dunes. It might just be the waves didn't have that power in that particular spot. So I asked him, and he said, yeah, and he studies this stuff all the time, and he said, yes, it's an amazing feat because it's so economic and it does work. And they'll get destroyed. That's what they're there for. So then you build them up again, and
Just so you know, you do participate in Bradley Beach's dunes, because we do bring our Christmas trees to Bradley Beach.
that's what I was going to ask. I did hear that they can't just get them, they have to get them from all around. Yeah.
How many you want if they're doing it. And again, for the last 2 years, they were not allowed to put any more down by the state. Again, I'm not suggesting they couldn't use their own, but they could not use ours, they didn't want any extras. But again, it goes to their beach management plan, what they've got, what they're approved for. I can tell you, we just signed a beach permit with the state is not allowing us to put down permanent dunes with Christmas trees.
That's interesting. So if the Army Corps of Engineers steps in, who pays for that? Is that like federal money that just comes?
Part of the beach management plan is so that the Army Corps of Engineers can do studies. All that's needed so you can get the studies done with the state and the federal government to see the beach replenishment, how much they'll give us, how much they don't. You have to go to their rules. That's what the beach management plan is all about. It's for protecting the wildlife, it's for protecting the plant life, certainly for the people, and again, for the erosion or placement of sand during and after storms. It's all a big formula that they have. That's why they mandate the municipalities to have it. That's why it took so long to get. And again, myself, I know, Mr. Brennan is a environmentalist. He was involved. There was a lot of people involved, and I don't want to be the negative one, but they're not going to allow it.
Okay, and did we get money for this back when? Did we get FEMA money as this being part of our plan? Because I remember right after Sandy them talking about, they even talked about a wall, which is environmentally disastrous, but that we were going to get FEMA money to build a wall. I don't mean to, as a layperson, disagree with, engineers, but the notching of the jetties didn't work, walls don't work. It's just so frustrating for me that, Bradley Beach is sitting pretty, and
Bradley Beach also had damage. I don't want to say they're sitting pretty after they had damage with Sandy also.
right,
But again, that
nothing
being
like
said,
what we had.
no, but again, they are a much larger beach. That has a lot to do with
That's
it.
probably because of the dunes.
I'm not
They
gonna
have
dismiss
bulkheading,
it.
too. They have
Beach
bulkheading down there.
management
Yeah,
plan
they
have
is
bulkhead.
not going to allow
That has
that.
No, I understand they're not going to allow it, but I just, anyway, I'm sorry, we're going off on a tangent, but did we get money for this way back, right after Sandy?
I'm going to tell you again, I was involved in this beach
Oh,
management
okay.
plan, not
So
the
maybe,
ones
Tom,
prior.
do you remember?
I don't believe we did. They talked about it. It was one of the things that was discussed,
Okay,
but I think that's as far as it got, was the discussion.
okay.
And, I agree with
I
you.
just worried
Walls
that we
are-
did, and it.
Walls are not the answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And I just have one more thing. I do want to thank you so much, because I know I'm a pain in the neck. And after many, many years of being a pain in the neck, this is the first time I can get an honest response. And I really appreciate that you do respond to me, and you know, because we all come up here because we have complaints. Otherwise, we don't get involved. And I understand that that must be frustrating for you guys who volunteer. So, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right. April?
Motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you all for coming out tonight.